calling the Center for Family Justice. Para español, oprima el número 3. Please listen closely so that we can best route your call. For the domestic violence hotline, please press 4. For the sexual violence hotline, please press 5. For company directory, please press 6. To reach the operator, please press 0, or you may remain on the line. If this is a true emergency, please hang up and dial 911.
Please hold on while I try that extension.
Thank you for calling the Center for Family Justice. How may I direct your call?
Hi, I have a question. It says that you guys do court and medical advocacy.
Yes, we do.
So, can you just tell me like what kind of stuff you offer with that?
So we are a domestic violence and sexual violence agency. So our court advocacy is focused towards our clients that have, gone through something with DV, SV, both. So I don't know if, you went through something along those lines, but the court advocacy, like say there's a case with, domestic violence, like restraining order, and they have to go to court. Our court advocates are there for, emotional support. And then we have criminal court advocates that, help more with the case on the criminal aspect. And, they update the client on what's going on, and they help them with court proceedings and then things along those lines.
And do you guys help with cases other than restraining orders and criminal cases?
So our cases are, like I said, just focused on, DV and SV. So it's restraining orders, protective orders, and then also we have attorneys that help with divorce with DV, custody cases.
And when you say that the attorneys help, like they give representation?
Yes.
Okay, because I'm like dealing with like all that stuff, and I was like tried so many different organizations, and nobody's able to help. So I'm seeing if you guys can actually help.
So are you going through domestic violence currently?
I've been dealing with it for 6 years now, with it getting worse and worse and worse.
Okay. So we do have our attorneys, like I said, but the thing is, you do the intake and a legal referral, but it's always not guaranteed if you get an attorney right away. So can you let our clients know that as well?
So can you just explain what that process would?
Go ahead.
When you said you do it an intake through a legal referral, can you be more specific? Like, what does that mean?
So in order to even do the legal referral, you have to do an intake with us. So you become a client here, and then you would do the legal referral, and the legal referral goes to our legal coordinator who assesses the situation and sees if something our attorneys can help you with, or if we would have to find outside resources to help you with the specific case that you would need assistance with.
Okay, and then, but is all that done like internally with your place, or do you guys outsource parts of what you said to other organizations?
So everything is here. Our court advocates, they're obviously not here in our office, but they're at the court. We have a civil court advocate, and then our attorneys are here on site. Our legal coordinator is here on site. The only way we would refer you out is if it's something we can't help you with here in our agency.
Okay, and so what if someone wanted to get this process started to see if like you guys can offer any help? What do I do?
So you can either, come in as a walk-in, or I can see if our walk-in's available to do the intake over the phone. It's entirely up to you and your comfort level if you want to come in, or if you just want to do it over the phone for right now. And then you would get assigned an advocate here, and then the advocate would meet with you to, go over our services and see if all you need is legal help, or if you're interested in counseling as well, and things along those lines.
Okay. Can I see if somebody's able to do that over the phone?
Yes, but can I just have your number and your first name just in case it gets disconnected?
Yes, my first name is Theodora, and my number is 203-273-8419.
8419. Okay, just give me 1 second, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Ma'am?
Yes.
Hi. So we also have our crisis navigators here. There are volunteers that are able to, also help you do the intake. So if you can just give me 1 second while she gets to where she needs to be, and then I'll transfer you over and she'll go over everything with you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so just give me 1 more second.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm transferring you over now. Her name is Carrie.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hello, this is Carrie.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. So as Allie explained, I am a crisis navigator here. So what we do is we collect a lot of the preliminary information and we'll get it put into the system. And then in the next couple of days, you'll get a call from an advocate who will be able to help you further. But we'll try to help you as much as we can from this point on.
Okay.
All right. So first, we have a consent that we go through just so that you kind of understand what your rights are here and that the care that we are supposed to provide to you. When you come here, you are always entitled to receive dignified treatment. We should be treating you with respect and respecting your personal dignity and your right to privacy. We do have a list of rights that are posted on the wall, so if ever you're in here, you could always review them. We also keep all of your information confidential, so it may be spoken about among the members here, but the only time that we would go outside of this agency to speak about these matters is if it involved a child or a crime of some kind. Other than that, we would always have your permission.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I think it cut out for a second. What was that part you said? It said it was a trial or what was that?
Oh, no. If it involved child abuse or a crime,
Okay.
then there may potentially be something that we have to report without your permission. But all other things that we would notify any other agency of would be with your permission.
Okay.
Okay. And then you always have the right to grieve or appeal the care that you're provided. So if you didn't feel like we were providing you with the care that you were expecting, you could always let us know that, and we will try to alter the plan so that you are much happier with how things are going. We also have a safe environment here, so alcohol, drugs, and weapons are prohibited. And if you're under the influence of any of these when you come, we will have to ask you to leave. And then there's also the Office of Victim Services, and that's a program in the state of Connecticut. So if this involved a crime, you could be entitled to receive money for medical, dental, any counseling, or lost wages. And that's additional documentation that we would have to collect in order to ensure that you would qualify, but it is a potential option.
Okay, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Is it, I just was looking again at the paper that had your guys' name on it, and I was just wondering, because are you only limited to certain cities?
Where are you from?
I'm in Orange.
Okay, no. So there are people from Milford and Orange who have come here previously. So there is a place in New Haven as well. It's just a matter of, which direction you felt more comfortable coming in. I have to say, as a volunteer, I attempted to volunteer at that other location, and they were not quite as welcoming. So personally, I think that you would get really great service here if you are not opposed to coming to Bridgeport.
Okay, and what's the other one called, just out of curiosity?
It's called BH Care, and
I think I'm familiar with them. I wasn't able to get help from them. That's why like I have this list from womenslaw.org, and it has like places that help, and you guys are on the list, so I figured like I don't think I ever tried calling you before. So I would definitely be interested in seeing if you can help, because I'm just dealing with a very, very difficult situation, and I have like don't have any help, and I'm like all by myself in this.
okay. Yeah, I would agree. I think that they would probably be able to help you more so here. I think the program is much more developed than the one that's in New Haven.
Okay.
Okay. So then the other side of the consent form just goes through a couple of other potentially more difficult questions. So I'm going to ask you if you have had any thoughts about hurting yourself.
No.
Okay. Have you had any thoughts about hurting others?
No.
Okay. And does this involve, what we talk about today, does it involve child abuse or neglect?
Yes.
Okay. And is there any persons over the age of 65 involved?
No.
All right. And then is there anyone involved that is determined to be disabled?
Well, I mean, like, I have, like, PTSD and ADHD, which are disabilities, and
Okay.
my child has adjustment disorder.
Okay. All right. So I think we just need to keep those things in mind as we're getting you the help that you need. And but from what you're telling me now, at this point, I don't think it's anything that we would need to be reporting to anybody at that point. But we'll get a little bit more information. I just wanted to make sure that you were okay with all the things that we talked about so far.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then, Allie did not provide me with your full name and date of birth. If you could provide that to me.
Yes. So my first name is Theodora, and my last name is Antar.
Okay. Theodora, that's a beautiful name.
Thank you.
And what is your date of birth?
9/7/91.
Okay. All right. And you identify as a female?
Yes.
Okay. And your race?
I guess you could say white.
Okay. Okay, so you said that you had PTSD and
ADHD.
ADHD. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. And are you getting treatment for those?
Right now, I'm not in treatment. So I don't know if you guys have like referrals with therapy and stuff like that, but currently no.
Okay. All right. And have you ever been in the military?
No.
Okay. And are you a U.S. citizen?
Yes.
And then we just need a range of your household income. So it starts at less than 10,000 and kind of goes up from there.
Right now, less than 10,000. I'm a student.
Okay. And so what is your primary income source?
Well, the only income I'm getting is child support and from a little bit of money from student loans for right now.
Okay. Okay. And could you provide me your address?
Yes, it's 856 Shagbark, Shagbark Drive in Orange.
And how many people live in the home right now?
Right now, just two.
All right. And do you have an email address?
Yes, it's my first and last name at gmail.com.
And is it okay to contact you via email?
Yes.
All right. And your cell phone?
203-273-8419.
Okay. And does anyone else have access to this cell phone?
No.
And then we also we try to find out if you accept blocked or restricted calls. So if somebody from the center calls you, it won't say the Center for Family Justice. It will say restricted number.
Okay. I could accept it.
All right. And then is it okay to leave a message?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, I think at this point we could kind of talk about what's going on with you, and then I can determine what other information we need to obtain.
Okay. So basically, I've been dealing with really, really serious, like domestic violence from my daughter's father, since probably from like the beginning of 2018 when I first started talking to him. And we were never married, but we have a 4-year-old daughter together. And I also have a 9-year-old that's from a separate relationship. And my 9-year-old, I have sole legal and sole physical custody of her. And so the 4-year-old, I used to have primary residency of her until May 25th of this year. And she was going with her dad on every weekend, and it was joint custody. And she, in starting in October of last year, was making disclosures of being sexually abused while at dad's house by her brother, who is the dad's. He has 2 sons with an ex-wife, and one of his sons is 17, the other one is 11. And so even though dad's visits were supposed to be every weekend and he was supposed to give me the right of first refusal per our court order if he was going to have to be away from her during his parenting time, he would insist on not giving me the right of first refusal. He would not tell me. He would regularly and consistently during this time leave her alone with the older brother. And then starting at the age of 3, she began to make disclosures that the brother was basically sexually abusing her. And so I was advised by my therapist that I had to report that to DCF at the time, and said that she said, I'm a mandated reporter. If you don't report this, then I will. And I told her, I said, okay, like I'll report it. I did. DCF then sent her for a forensic interview at Yale, which took place on October 31st, 2022, during which at the time he was living in New Britain. So it was the New Britain Police Department who was given this case, and they assigned a detective to the case. And so at that day of the forensic interview on Halloween of 2022, it was the detective from New Britain, DCF worker that were watching this forensic interview, and then I guess from a two-way glass, and my daughter was there with a social worker from Yale child abuse clinic, and I was not allowed to watch any of the interview or anything. And then they came in after and they said to me, we asked your daughter, do you know why she's here? She said no. We then showed her a picture of a like age appropriate picture of the body, asked her to identify a couple parts. They said, "What's this?" She said, "Your arm." "What's this?" "Your leg." And then they said, "Are there any places on your body no one else is allowed to touch?" And they said, my daughter answered no. So they then said, because she answered no to that question, which was basically asking if she has private parts, she says no. They immediately ended the interview. They immediately ended the police investigation and closed the investigation and said, oh, well, because she didn't make a disclosure.
What?
Because they said that in this forensic interview, they're not allowed to ask leading questions. So they said that because they can't ask leading questions, they were forced to end the interview. And I said to them, well, because like my daughter at the time was 3. And so like I was always told by child psychologists that if a child is under the age of 5, they communicate through play very well. And a lot of times they'll have toys and props where the kids, and like what my daughter was doing was she was basically doing sexual behaviors on her stuffed animal. And when I asked her what she's doing, she's like, oh, my stuffed animal is tickling me. And then like, I'm like, well, and then she said the brother tickled her like that. And so that's what she said the first time. And so that's what I reported. And I was like, you know, can she bring her stuffed animal? And they're like, no toys, no props, nothing, just a blank canvas and a social worker in a room that's empty. And my daughter has adjustment disorder. You know, they told me, don't say anything to her. Don't tell her where you're taking her. You'll be accused of coaching. DCF's like, you better not say a word to her about anything. So I listened to DCF. I didn't say a word about anything. She showed up there in her Halloween costume, and she was like, didn't know what's going on. And like, she, like the way that question is asked, even an adult would be confused. Like, is there anywhere on your body no one else is allowed to touch? It's like a double negative trick question where it's like, that doesn't even make sense. Like, and plus it's like, who has full on conversations with their 3-year-old about your private parts and stuff? Like most parents wouldn't even think to have that as that young. She had just turned 3 a couple months prior to that. And so it's like, I also have a 9-year-old, and like, even with my 9-year-old, like, you know, we really hadn't talked much about that stuff. So I was like, just doing what I was being advised to do and dealing with him. He's very manipulative. It's a lot of coercive control, financial abuse. He was just, everything he did was emotional, psychological, financial abuse and legal abuse and everything, and putting me through so much torture. And so then I guess that like, they told me that they were closing the police investigation. They said to me, and I had an attorney at the time who said, well, because she didn't pass the forensic interview, you have no choice. You have to keep sending her to dad's house every weekend. So I did, even though I didn't want to. And then she didn't really say anything. Then on February 1st of this year, I go in my living room, I walk in there, and I find her again, basically humping her stuffed animals. And I'm saying, what are you doing? And this time she says, remember I told you that my brother does this to me all the time? And like, when she was doing this, I was like, okay, as soon as I saw what she was doing, before I even asked her what she was doing, I started recording my phone so I can look, this is evidence. Because everybody's like, oh, nope, you need leading questions or the forensic interview and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's not even in the law. Like, I talked to the court. They said that's not even the law. That's just what they started doing. And so it's not okay when they said that the same questions in this interview, at least in Yale, said that it was the same exact questions get asked to a 3-year-old all the way up to a 17-year-old. And that they first ask them, do you know why you're here? And then they build off the questions. So if they can't build, and it's like, these are like just a regular social worker who's doing this. It's not like a detective is like trained to like interrogate people and like ask questions in a specific way. A social worker is not. And even if they do some training, this is clearly failing. Oh, and so then I was really upset by that, because in the second interview, the second one, they did it again, because she, in March, basically in February, like when I saw her doing that again, I contacted my attorney. They said, call DCF again. I did. The same detective got assigned again, a different DCF worker this time, and they did it in Yale again. And I asked them, I said, look, can she bring her toy? They said, absolutely not. The policy is so strict. And so I'm like, okay. So then they said, oh, you can tell her that we're telling her what Dom does. We're going to tell the lady about what Dom does. That's what they said to say. And when I told her that, she was like, oh no, but if I say that, everyone will be mad at me. Because the dad's been like threatening her. And she even told me that the father witnessed this on camera when he left the kids alone, and that he yelled at the son. The dad's aware of it and continued to leave the son there. And he has a sex addiction, and he's sick and twisted in the head too. And so this, then that was on March 3rd. They did the second forensic. On the second forensic, she said the brother sits on her and has her sit on him. And while he's sitting on her and has her sitting on him, he tickles her belly. He's 17, 200 pounds. She's 3, 30 pounds. A tiny little baby, basically. And he's a big, oversized teenager that's 17, going to be 18 in 6 months, and knows exactly what he's doing, and post-puberty. And so now all these times when my daughter was making these disclosures and I would catch her doing it, it was like she almost had shame about it. And I'd be like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, nothing. And then I'm like, she's like, well, I'm doing what Dom does to me. Well, Dom does it to me. And like every time I would like record this, I'd send it to DCF. I'd send it to the detective. The detective would be like, oh, sorry, I didn't have time to look at your email. Or you try to email them the video, it gets sent back to you because their system is so messed up that you can't even send a video. And then there's no other alternative. And then I gave them flash drives. I sent them packages filled with evidence they signed certified packages for that they never even looked at. And it's just so ridiculous. Then my ex, who has friends that are judges, lawyers, attorneys, people that are like state marshals, correctional officers, and he has a lot of money. He then tried to say that I like alienated him by, during the investigation for sexual abuse, I was advised by my lawyer, by the police, and by DCF to not send her to dad's until the forensic interview and investigations are over. So I listened to what they said. And then when we went to court on a motion for modification hearing, the judge, who never saw any videos, never saw any evidence, nothing, just all of a sudden says, oh, you know what? You lied. You lied about the sexual abuse. And now I'm taking your kid away. And so she goes, where's your daughter? I said, she's at school. She orders my ex to go take her from the school and says to call the police if I try to go there, and takes my daughter and puts in an order saying I can only see her supervised visits only when the dad says, only by a supervisor designated by the dad, with no schedule, with nothing. And you know how traumatic that is? And to be accused of lying about sexual abuse when I didn't. And no one's ever said I was unfit. And so like since then to now, I've been fighting this battle by myself. There's lots of stuff pending. I really need help. I've tried so many organizations. Every single one turns me away. So I could get more into it, but I just don't want to waste my time if I'm going to be told that I can't get help.
Yeah, no. I'm going to talk to one of the advocates here, and instead of keeping you on hold, we'll give you a call back at this phone number, if that's okay.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, I just need, hold on 1 minute, I just need a little bit more information. So can you tell me your daughter's name?
Her name is Angelina, Angelina, and her last name is Lodice, Lodice.
Okay. And you said, what's her date of birth?
5/21/19.
Okay. And then your son's name?
Actually, I have two daughters. My older one is Juliana.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay.
It's okay.
Juliana.
And she's Julianna. And she has a different last name. It's Viglione. And she's also separated from her sister because now since May to now, he's allowed me less than 2 days of total access. I haven't seen her at all since November. He won't let her see her for months at a time, won't let her talk to us for weeks at a time. Like, this is coercive control. This is domestic violence. This is abuse. And then I go to court and I have no advocates. And it's like, what's happening to me is really, really terrible and traumatic. And my daughter misses us, and like it just I don't know what to do anymore.
Okay, and then the the father's name. Hold on one sec. Okay, if you could tell me the father's name.
It's Matthew, Matthew, and the same last name as Angelina.
Okay, and then Dominic is his son's name.
Yes. Dominic. And he has another son, Salvatore.
Okay, Salvatore is 11.
Yes.
And Dominic is 17.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And how long were you all together?
So we weren't really together. Like I only got pregnant with Angelina when I was like 3 months knowing him, and we were former coworkers, and he tried to ask me to have an abortion. He never wanted Angelina, and I was basically doing all the work by myself until she was like 2 years old, and then we started the weekend schedule. And so like my home was like the only home she ever knew. Like and before it was like I had both of my kids Monday through Friday, and then they would go see their dad on the weekend, and so it was like a schedule. Everyone was used to it. Now he doesn't let her go to church. He took her out of therapy. He took her. He's isolating her from all of us. She's not allowed to practice her religion. Like everything is so abusive, and like the law says that this is Jennifer's law, like abuse, coercive control, but the courts are like, no, that's totally reasonable. Like it's reasonable for someone to not let a mother see their child for months on end. It's reasonable for a kid to sit there on FaceTime and see that she has presents waiting and not be allowed to go open them or see her mom or her sister for Christmas. And here we are days later. Like, it's so heartbreaking. And like, people are like, oh, well, you must have done something. Like, I didn't do anything. I've never done anything. The only thing they said was that I lied about the sexual abuse, which I didn't lie. They tried to say, oh, well, it was unsubstantiated. Yeah, how is it unsubstantiated if my daughters can't understand their confusing question and then they end the interview? How about you have a detective question her with the parent present like they're allowed to do, but instead they want to be scared to ask leading questions? The child's testimony is in itself is evidence.
Right. Now, where does he live now? I know you said it was New Britain. Is he still in New Britain?
Now he's in Waterbury, and he's living at his mom's house, and the mom lives there, the stepdad lives there, and so that's other part. It's like he's not even with her 90% of the time. He leaves her with other people who have no rights to her, and they don't let me see her or talk to her either. So I could give you the address.
Do you know that? Do you know the address? Okay.
Yeah, it's 48 Quarry, Quarry Hill Road in Waterbury. Do you need the names of the people that live there, or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I have Dominic's name, and does Dominic have that same last name?
Yes.
Lotus?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and all right, I think I have enough information for the moment. So let me talk to one of the advocates, and then we will give you a call back and see what we can do.
Okay, and you have my phone number?
Yep, 203-273-8419.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate your help.
Okay, thank you. I'm so sorry that you're going through all of this.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Talk to you later. Bye.